So today what we're going to do is we're going to kind of create a system using Ubuntu server to build it up and harden it. And then we're going to do a little bit more with it beyond that. Let's jump in. Let's go find out what this is all about. Now, the instructions for the hardening utility say to use minimized. Don't do that. I ran into some issues with it because what happens is the server will first, if it's minimized, it won't use NetPlan. It'll use the network interface file to, that's the older networking method for Ubuntu. And so we wanted to use NetPlan because when you do the conversion, it just gets real confused. So I want to come up here and we want to edit our IPv6 because we want a manual. And then my domain servers, which are local, and we'll do a save. Use the entire disk, but we don't want LVM. I do want a custom layout, but this does not work that well. So I'll show you what I'm going to do. You shouldn't have to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. So I'm going to come down to here, and then I'm going to delete this one. Well, actually, I'm just going to edit it. We'll make this 22 gig. Okay, this will be my root partition still. All right, so we'll add a GPT partition. I need to give it how much disk I want first, and then /var, which it should be on here. Yes, it is. Create. And then we'll come down to free space, and I need a home. Let's see, I got 30 gig left. Let's take 22 gig of that. And we'll create that. Now, I don't have to create a temp. It will do that automatically during this. And I'm going to go ahead and see. Let me go ahead and put that 8. There's almost 9 gig there. I think what I'll do is I'm going to add on 7 more to that. So that'll give it 29. Yeah. Oops. There we go. And my root. It's crazy a lot, but it's going to have to create a file for the swap. So let's see. Yep, confirm it. No, we don't want to do that. And if I do, this is one of the problem areas that we have here for the script. Because the script isn't written for 2404. It's written for 2204. It's almost done. In fact, it is done. Let's go ahead and log in. See, yeah, as you can see, we are definitely on 2404. So I'm looking for constructoid. It's right here. And there should be a few prerequisites here that we need to do. So I need to install get nettools proc ps and no install recommends. Okay, I'm going to do an update first. So let's get the system up to the latest level first. It's even hard for me to read. Okay. And we want get, we want nettools, and we want proc ps. No install recommends. Okay. Okay. So now we're gonna do a clone of this thing. constructoid slash, and if all goes well, it should come up right there. All right, let me bring this back up. We're done with that, so let me bring this back up so you can see what I'm doing. Hopefully, I have to edit this config file, and right down here where it says change me, I'm going to put read it, meaning I've read the instructions already. You have to put in something there or it will stop and say you didn't read the directions, and it will scold you. So I'm all set, so I can do a bash. Oops. Ubuntu.show. And it should take off. So now, right now, what it is doing is going through the hardening step. So everything looks good. It's telling me that the kernel is up to date. I don't have any error messages here. It's telling me I need to restart the system. So we'll go ahead and do that, or reboot it. All right, first thing I want to know about is the status of my firewall. And you'll notice right here that the port 22, it's down about the third line, says it's allowed on local networks only, 127.0.0.1. Well, that's not going to work. So all you do is say allow SSH. And that should give me another entry for everywhere or anywhere. So now we're open on the system. Now I need to check to see if I have anything running here, and it sort of does and it sort of doesn't. You can see it's enabled, but it's disabled. So there you go. Wait a minute, you didn't install OpenSSH. I didn't, but the script did. There's our server. All right, so the next thing we want to do is let's see what we get for a hardening score. And you might be wondering, why are you using sudo? Oh, I don't have Git. Let's go ahead and get the rest of the stuff that I need then. Let's see what we get here. This should be, there's going to be some things it didn't do. For example, it didn't put a password on the grub menu to boot from this drive, which I think for a VM is kind of silly because you already have a password between you and it already. So, all right, let's see what we get for a score here. We got 90. And oh, we got a DNS problem here. Okay, so for that's right. We hostname controls, set hostname. Remember I told you that we had to do this because we didn't have a fully qualified name. Now I don't know why they don't. I don't know. Whoever is doing the script for set control, can you tell me how much effort this would be to add? I mean, why am I doing this? You should be doing this. Some of the things that we have to fix. Well, there's the thing I was telling you about. The grub bootloader doesn't have a password, which we could fix. And again, I don't know why this has to be so hard, but it apparently does. Or you can't script that on its own. But check PAM configuration. I think some people that do programming ought to retire. Anyway, no, I'm just kidding. PAM configuration, we want our passwords to encrypt with new values. So we want more rounds when we're doing the encryption. We want to set expiration dates. This is just check this. to see if you need the JBD journal block device driver. Debsums, it's complaining about that. We'll check it. I know it's there. We need to install app show versions in order for it to be fully compliant. Apparently, we have some IP table rules which don't have services behind them. And we need to harden our SSH configuration a little bit. And yeah, it's not going to let this go until we change the default port, but I don't want to do that just yet. Enable logging to an external host. Yeah, okay. I mean, yes, it's good to have an audit server somewhere, and you're keeping your logs external off the host that it's on. That makes it just one thing that's a little harder for an attacker, because that's one more system for them to have to break into in order to erase their traces. If automation tools are present, I don't have any automation tools currently present, so that's legit. I probably should get Ansible installed on here, and then that will go away. Consider restricting the file permissions. Yep, we know about that. And then there's one or more system control values. And I'll bet the one it wants me to turn off is the modules disabled, which that will break my system. So I can't do that. Sorry, not going to happen. Yeah, that will keep me from booting on this machine. So and it's updating the kernel. So it looks like we'll have to reboot here when we're all done. Let's go check this real quick. Okay, so I do have a daily running. It's right there, cron daily. And in cron daily, there's debsums right there. And what is it doing? It's just gonna run it. All right, so I have 61,209, 53, 25, and 22. And over here I have 22, and that's it. So yeah. So we need to add 25 and 53 if we want those let through. However, that's only on the local IPv6. And I think we're already letting everything through anywhere on those anyway. Yeah, local allow anything. So, yeah, that's fine. But this one is probably the one that's giving it heartburn. That's glances. So do I want it allowed from the outside? No. So we're hardened at this point. So what I want to do right now is, let's see, I don't need that. APT search. I want to look for FireJail, see what components are here for that. So we have 3 different components. We have the server, or excuse me, the app, FireJail. There is no, by the way, with FireJail, there is no server part. It's built into the kernel. So I need that, and I need the profiles because in here will be almost all of the applications you need. These have some tools that allow you to do a FireJail config, and then the FireJail config, if you're running in a graphical user environment, then it automatically will jail any new applications that run. So if you launch things from your launcher down here, FireJail will wrap it. Now, what is FireJail? FireJail, first of all, it's a namespace sandbox. And I've talked about this on one old video that seems it's still getting watched today, believe it or not. But the version numbers of this have moved on. They've added some new features to this since then. And so it's probably time to refresh this a little bit. So it is a namespace sandbox. So in other words, it's a container. The second half of it that FireJail is receiving a lot of focus about is that it's set UID. In other words, it's a set owner user ID application. It's written in C, and there are no dependencies. That is, you just load the C compiler. There's no other libraries you need. It's all self-contained, and it's all done. You need at least a Linux kernel 3.8 or greater, but it doesn't require any configuration in order to run it. It will just do a basic container, and that's it. So if you want fancier stuff out of it, then you need a profile. So it supports 3 types of applications: server apps, desktop apps, and Linux login apps. So what they mean by desktop apps is both a GUI and a CLI application. It'll support both. And of course, server apps would be services that are running on the system. So the set UID concerns, just to hit it one more time, FireJail needs root privileges in order to set up a container, because ccomp runs in the kernel. In order to talk to the kernel and be able to set up the file system, it has to have root to do that. So, I mean, there's no getting around that unless you want to use something like NSJail. That's Nancy Sierra Juliet Alpha Indigo Lima. So if you want to use NSJail, just remember that's a Google product. And this group is total open source. They're totally open also with their CVEs that they get. And they've had a few, and you'll see them posted on their website. You can just go there and you can look at the CVE list. There in the documentation, they have several ways to mitigate the SUID risks if that's still a concern to you even after all of that. So if you're still concerned about it, go look at the documentation and see if that addresses your concern. You can just prefix your command with FireJail and then just type it in on the command line and it'll run. That means you need to know the binary file name, and it has to be in your search path. So you can integrate FireJail with desktop apps. We kind of alluded to that. There's 2 ways to do that. One is run the FireJail against the application name, and the other one is just type in FireCFG. FireCFG, after that, will run everything that you launch from your desktop manager. Also, it'll also protect them from the command line. So it doesn't matter if you're running those desktop manager apps from Cinnamon or KDE or LXDE or LXQt or Mate or XFCE, it will run. Now, if you're running GNOME, it only supports GNOME 3. I don't think there's any support for GNOME 4. Some frequently asked questions: can I run app images in FireJail? Yes, as a matter of fact, and there's an option for that. That allows you to do that. Can you run Flatpaks in a FireJail? No, don't do that. Flatpaks already are a container, and you don't want to stack, and you can't stack containers anyway. But yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. If you're running snaps, same thing. That's already a container. You don't want to pile on to that. So can I run systemd managed services in FireJail? Yep, but it's not recommended. They recommend that you use systemd if you're going to manage your services. Don't run FireJail. Can I use encryption FS or SSH FS with FireJail? Yes, but do the mount first before you launch a FireJail. And it doesn't work well with Fuse, and those 2 file systems require Fuse because those are user level file systems. And Fuse doesn't allow root to view those file systems anyway, so you're not going to be able to see them with FireJail. Make sure that you launch them first and then bring up FireJail, and everything will be fine. Is my LAN accessible from apps running in a FireJail? It is by default, but you can turn it off. There are options in the configuration to allow you to prevent local access to your network. So you can force, like if I'm running a browser, I can turn my local area network off so that an attacker can't do a reverse shell on me, get to the shell, and then use the Firefox browser application to be able to go ahead and log in and do an SSH into any of my servers. So let's go take a few minutes and go through this, and you can see some of the things that it does. So I suppose we probably should start with the website. So it's just put in a search for FireJail, and it will come up. And under the download, you can see the current CVE status. It's been a while since they've had one. 2022, which was fixed in 0970. So, and I think the latest version is 7.2. We can check that. Now I'm on Fedora. Let me show you the profiles first. There's all the profiles, and 1246 didn't lie. Yeah, you have lots of them. So if I want to run a FireJail, now when I do this, so you can see that it's pulling the profile, and then there's a couple of other profiles that it pulls with it. I want to see, I got 4 of them. There we go. So you can see right away that it has hidden away a lot of the directories on my system. And you can see I have quite a bit of stuff here that you don't have access to. So you can also have FireJail set up a default user or a dummy user. And then basically it's creating a fresh user directory, and usually that's done on temp. So there's no chance that there's anything, then it becomes amnesic, because when you log off your application, if it's on temp, eventually that stuff will get destroyed. This is my only problem area, is downloads, because usually I think the permissions on this by default, if I remember right, is it allows execution. Yeah, it allows execution. Now, you could mitigate that so that you could download files but not execute them. So that is a concern, because that would be executable, and that would allow a vector for a would-be attacker to call down scripts and then run them on your system, and you don't want that. So anyway, that's how that works. Yeah, that would make sense. Now it says it's added this. So these are the apps that it knows about based on the profiles that are matching up with what I have on the system. So if I run any of these, let's go to Office. Let's try Writer here and see what we get. Let's see, what's my view of the file system? Okay, so yeah, it's kind of stuck. I can't get into documents. I can get into downloads though. It's not read-only. Let's try to create a file. Yep, not going to be able to store anything there. I'd probably want to update this a little bit so that this has a place to put stuff. Yeah, it allows me to store it there. Now I'm outside of the FireJail because I didn't tell it to run Dolphin under a FireJail. So to turn it off, there we go. Now we can see everything. All right. So one of the other things I wanted to show you though was AppArmor. FireJail installed on my other system at all. It's just AppArmor. Now if I run glances by itself, you'll notice that, oh, that looks a little weird. Where is all your applications at? I only see 2. That's because my view is being restricted to my user space. And if I run sudo glances, that escalates my privileges. And now I can see everything. So that's how you know, partly know that AppArmor is working, just by doing that. Okay, so let me go back up and we'll talk for a few minutes. So one of the things that we kind of learned today was we can go through and we can fully harden our systems a little bit better than they're going to be out of the box. So I ended up at 90. I don't have a completely hardened system, but it's still closer than it was. The second thing is that we can also increase its posture, its security posture, by simply adding additional tools like FireJail to it and AppArmor as well in the case of Ubuntu. I know that I don't want to harp on this, but if you are concerned about setuid, it's NSJail, name spaces jail. And that is a Google project, but you won't find any profiles with it. You got to write your own. There might be people that are sharing profiles, so you might want to check. I didn't see anything that comes with it, though. So, yeah, it's roll your own. If you want to go that route. That does not use setuid. If you want me to do a video on that, be happy to do that. But I'm always leery of putting anything of Google on as a system that I use, mainly because Google has this really bad habit of they'll keep something around for a few years and then all of a sudden, without warning, they terminate all the development work on it and move away from it immediately, leaving you high and dry looking for another application. So, yeah, that's my problem with them, and they have historically always operated that way. So, yeah, I'm really careful about what I do with them. And with that, that's all I had today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please like and subscribe, and I hope to see you again in the next one. Bye for now.